Welcome back, everybody. We're here at the 2020 LCK for the second game of Afreeca up against DAMWON. DAMWON able to take the game off the back of Showmaker's Echo. His early game performance was quite the joy to watch. He had a great early start, and then it was shored up by Ghost Varus later on in the game. The lethality Varus doing insane poke damage, and that was game number one. Going into game number two, of course, DAMWON is going to be on the blue side, so a little bit less of the counter picking. Obviously, the Echo into the Syndra. As, Ghost is going to pick up the player of the game, as big damage numbers are very flashy, and I need to click on the flashy one.
Well, Ghost, I mean, we can understand why he did get it. He did insane amounts of damage in a lot of the team fights, and once the lethality Varus eventually came online in the late stages of the game, it was just really easy for him to constantly dish out damage. And so, definitely a respectable MVP, player of the game vote here for match 69, game 1.
Yeah, I mean, it looks nice when the arrow hits and he does a bajillion damage, but I don't know. I do not think I would have voted for him, as 6 out of 9 did go for him. There was one savant on the Korean cast who did join us with the mid vote. Probably what did. He's explaining himself a lot right now on the desk, so either way, as you said, I mean, Varus obviously did do a lot for the team at the end of the day, so it really depends on perspective and how you do look at what makes a player of the game exactly.
Yeah.
But either way, it was really the two-man show. The two of them really just doing a great job. Obviously, shout out to Nuguri as well. I thought his Ornn was quite good at the same time. But it felt like a little bit of a draft win into just solid play out of DAMWON, whereas Afreeca, again, did kind of look a bit lost. So we're going to have to see if that does change jumping into game number 2.
Well, hopefully they can find themselves with a draft win. It's actually been quite a few series that I believe that they have not had a draft win. I know APK obviously had the... Well, they had an... Actually, no. They did have a winning draft against APK once. But prior to that, it has been a while.
Yeah.
So, definitely things are a little bit scary for them. They are putting Keen onto more of these carry champions, the Lucian up in top lane. That was not the kind of dynamic I was expecting here in game number 1, the Lucian versus the Ornn, especially not for Nuguri to be the one piloting the Ornn. Keen is the one that is more of the stable, willing to scale player, whereas Nuguri historically has always wanted to be the aggressor unless he was on something like his Vladimir.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Keen is getting really frustrated with the situation right now with this team. They started off so strong on the back of performances from him, from Fly, from Mystic, and then they just kind of fell off big time and just kind of faded out, and it feels like they've been in this kind of funk now for a while, and he's trying to get things going. He's trying to play aggressive carry champions. He did have a great game, Keen, but it just wasn't enough to carry by himself, so will be interesting to see what exactly the top matchup is. Of course, it's always fun to watch Nuguri up against Keen. As we did take a look at the bans here, we have Senna available, we have Aphelios, we've got Kalista, Ornn, lots of stuff still left on the table.
Well, Kalista is immediately being locked in by Afreeca, paired with the Syndra yet again. And Fly's Syndra, I believe I talked about this on the broadcast with Atlas, that there's a very big difference between true Syndra players and people who play Syndra because she's good. And true Syndra players are very scary. It feels like you can't walk up to them, you can't approach them. They're always lane kingdoming you, they're always killing you solo or just threatening to constantly. Whereas a few of the times that we've seen Syndra in the LCK, she just sort of endlessly wave clears and always has priority on a moment's notice. But that's not really a reason for you to pick Syndra. She is one of the biggest stat checkers in the game. And seeing Afreeca default to these like power picks that are not off theme with each other, as they do have Kalista and Nautilus right now, but we're gonna have to see how they round this out on R4, R5.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a question. Sometimes we see the first half of the draft and we're kind of nodding our heads, you know, liking what we're seeing, and then all of a sudden we see a couple of new picks and we're like, wait, how did this all go wrong? So definitely opportunities to throw drafts or support them and build them up as we do go into second phases here, as Jace going to be taken away from Nuggery. They do not want him on something that can absolutely bop heads up in the top side. Lee Sin gets banned. I don't know why exactly, especially with the... I mean, Lee Sin is almost at 25% win rate.
Yeah,
so many games. I really don't understand the priority on it right now.
And the other thing is that there's no possible way they really felt pressured by Lee Sin at all last game. I just wouldn't believe it. I would absolutely not believe it. But one of the things that they might be thinking is, let's ban away physical junglers. So they might follow this up with Rek'Sai. And what they're trying to do there is get another magic damage jungler to come out so that it harms Syndra ever so slightly. So it's already been Trundle banned away. Perhaps they do ban the Lee here.
Or an Olaf or something.
The Rek'Sai should get banned here, as Lee is already taken away. And
Silas.
It's gonna be the Silas. So now the Lee Sin ban makes even less sense, and I can't interpret.
You gave it a good shot, okay?
I tried.
You tried to make sense of it, but you tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. You really did. But at the end of the day, it didn't work. Olaf is something that, you know, along those lines I was suggesting. It looks like they do want to pick it up, as it's not the best into the Jarvan.
No, it's actually a self-counter pick into the Jarvan. Jarvan can just lock the Olaf inside of the Cataclysm, and then he's a sitting duck. And if his Ragnarok is already cast, then things get a little bit shaky. DAMWON hovering Kennen. And the enemy team composition is very short range, except for the Syndra. Blinding the Kennen is so surprising. Now with Zoe being hovered. So,
Okay.
this is
just gonna get locked.
Very peculiar draft here by DAMWON. I have no idea what that B4, B5 just was.
As I was saying, it's easy to throw
Ornn
in the second half.
Ornn's still open, and neither team picked him. And now, Veigar being... Okay, Kassadin.
Okay.
So, I think that's... Does this mean that Keen is going to play Syndra top lane and Kassadin in mid? Both of them obliterate Zoe in mid lane. Oh!
Or Kalista top, yeah.
Oh, man. So, okay. Aphelios' magic resistance is actually really low. I've been very vocal for the past couple of weeks, even going back into February, that one of the answers to Aphelios was actually just to take mages to him down there in bot lane, and even double mage him if he has a tank support. You can just pair Syndra or pair Xerath or Ziggs or Veigar with any sort of champion that can really just light him up. And what a interesting pivot here by Afreeca to have the Kassadin come in last. Now, Kassadin is really good here. There is limited amounts of CC on the enemy team, and the Kennen and the Zoe can't really do anything against him later on. He'll also he'll have a field day all over Aphelios. However, on the flip side, Kalista could end up becoming a liability. And the Zoe, she doesn't have a lot of value, but she's still going to pack a pretty big punch. If Afreeca fall behind, though, the itemization for DAMWON is actually pretty easy to resist the Kassadin and Syndra, and if that's the case, they stifle their own mid-game. Because if Hex Drinker, Merc Treads, Banshee's Veil, those items start coming out, DAMWON's just going to be favored in the way later stages.
This is definitely, I have to say, it's not a draft that we expected. A bunch of confusing twists and turns ended up going both ways. So very excited to see how this one turns out. Definitely spicing up our evening a bit. It's not just your stock standard LCK. No Azir in this game. As Cull was the first item here for Zoe in the mid lane. I suppose she says, well, the Kassadin's really not going to be able to pressure me much at all, so I might as well just focus on CSing and trying to get ahead that way.
Yeah, and Zoe does auto-attack Kassadin quite a lot, so it's not like she won't utilize the AD stat that the item grants her. And so I really respect that Showmaker is electing to do this. Has the heal as well. Not going to be taking the teleport, whereas Fly, with the fleet footwork and the teleport. We take a look at this bone plating. Bone plating is always so confusing to me when you're against a ranged champion. And the reason that I say that is because it's so easy for them to proc it just once and then wait. And then it's like you're playing down a room. So, against ranged champions, it always can be a little bit surprising. Melee is obviously, they have to get into range, they can try to combo you, and then, yeah, the bone plating gives you lots of value. And obviously, in straight-up hard trades, then it will come into play. Spellbook on the side of Naguri. On Diskennen, Gathering Storm on the Aphelios.
Yeah. And our observer, Jenna Strong, he did point out the extra, like, stat runes, I guess you would call them. The secondary runes. You know, the little ones that give you stats at the end. Showmaker took attack speed, attack damage, and magic resist for this lane. So he's just saying, you know, screw you, Kassadin. I am going to auto you to death. I'm going to out-CS you with Cull. And even though this lane might get a little bit shaky later on in the game, or the early and mid-game, I am going to try to crush you and auto you down in every way that I possibly can.
Yeah. And Showmaker managed to roll Redemption, so, you know, I mean, it takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of skill to do that. And having it here this early on is definitely really good. You can see that his HP, his sustain, everything is working out really well with the... Oh, yeah? You're just going to roll in Ignite as well. Oh, so, magnificent. Now, if you're watching this as a viewer at home, you need to make sure that when you play Zoe, you do this as well.
Yes. Take notes, guys.
Take notes. You're going to want to roll the Redemption into the Ignite by wave 4. You're going to want to make sure to do that. And in case you didn't know, he did manage to do that within, I believe, the first 200 seconds of this game.
Oh, wow. He must be feeling pretty good about himself right now. Look at the damage he's able to do.
Oh!
Stole one of the popcorn chicken. Just one. It's like that friend that says he's not hungry, but then he's like, hey man, can I get one of those? I'm like, but you didn't want anything. And then they end up eating like 8 of them. But only one this time around. Showmaker's a good friend. Playing the bottom side. Double S says, well, I'm out of here. Takes a little bit of extra poke damage. Jilly going to help out in blocking some of that.
And Fly is actually struggling a little bit in mid lane, which does make sense. He is going up against a Zoe that rolled Redemption and Ignite, also has the call start, as Olaf, the clear that Dread has been going for is a bit peculiar. As you can see that Canyon has already reset, pathing towards the right-hand side, and I really like what he's doing. You can see the ping onto the brush. He's doing this to protect Zoe. He's making it so that Showmaker can keep putting on a clinic in mid lane, and I'll tell you what, Valdez, this mid lane matchup isn't supposed to have this discrepancy at this level. Kassadin is supposed to be able to fare quite nicely against the Zoe Ghost Cast.
Okay. He's going to have to flash at the end. The trouble bubble was still on the ground there. So he really just got zoned out big time by Showmaker. Ended up having to use that summoner spell. Oh, he actually just let him go. That was interesting. He was on vision there. Nuguri saw him. But then in the end said, no, you know, you can go back. That's fine.
Canyon now picking up the Ocean Dragon. That was actually a very peculiar trade by Keen. Does end up getting the Rend off. And I believe that what Nuguri was trying to do is maybe sustain into Seeker's Arm Guard. Dread is going to leave one of the small wolves alive, so Bambi.
Double exhaust down here, and the root comes in onto Jelly. Do they have that last auto? It's not enough. Just barely. He's going to get away after blowing both flash and exhaust. So a couple of summoners for just one end. You do see that Jelly did lose the fight in the end. Fly hits level 6. This lane is going to get a bit easier, but already a small lead being built here by the side of Zoe. About 15 CS ahead here at 6 minutes.
Yeah, and all right, another bubble does land. He does Rift Walk backwards, but a plate is being taken at 6 minutes. And Fly is managing to close the CS deficit ever so slightly, only down 15 right now. Meanwhile, in bottom lane, the lane is not actually going the way that I think many would anticipate it. Ghost and Barrel did get the crash. They're coming back to the lane, and that's going to help mitigate the advantage that Double S and Jelly should have been able to achieve with the teleport. And Valdez, I get a question for you.
Okay.
How do you pronounce Fly's champion name?
Kassadin. Yeah, we're all done with you.
What?
You and your Kassadin.
That's how it is on the Korean server.
Yeah, it's Kassadin.
Yeah.
Kassadin. Yeah.
So, playing LoL the first year and a half or so, all I ever heard was Kasa. It just sort of sticks now. And you know what?
Yeah.
Tomato, tomato, okay?
All right. Yeah, it's because you essentially grew up in this nation with the League of Legends, but I'm going to have to hold that thought. Nuguri in a lot of trouble. It's going to proc that Slicing Maelstrom. Wants to get the stun down, tries to predict the Fate's Call, is not going to be able to as Keen is going to be able to do that. We got a kill, actually, in the enemy jungle. Big-time play and knock-up here by Canyon. Do they have the damage? Jelly with no summoners, but he does have his shield. One more Q would do it, but it's not going to come off cooldown.
Canyon didn't red smite the Nautilus, which is so perplexing. He red smited
so
after the knock-up.
Yeah, okay. Flash forced here. Yeah, I think he thought he could just pick that up. And meanwhile, Ghost was not even there. He's just sitting here killing the turret with his ult up. He was probably zoned out because he had to clear the wave, if I'm guessing. And yeah, just a crazy fight in the enemy jungle.
Well, DAMWON just getting the leg up in this game. Let's take a look at how this all transpired. I have no idea how this happened. So, the minions do end up dying. Kalista should have... Okay, actually, no, there was no way. Dread should have been the one, I think, to tank the last turret shot. As... Stop laughing. Because Fly's trying his best. Places the control ward in the blue side jungle. Has the catalyst. This is probably going to be like a 16 or 17 minute Rod of Ages, so not the best look here in mid lane.
Yeah. It's a struggle. It surely is. 63 CS here at 9 minutes 20. We do have this Rift Herald coming down here as Dread was able to pick that up. Going to get a bunch of the gold here. As Keen trying to stack it up and be the carry. Showmaker actually missed that one. A little bit awkward. It's going to take away some power from his push. We'll be able to follow up though shortly. As, yeah, just sitting here 1-1, a crazy kind of set of plays did happen there for just a moment, though. Oh, the Trouble Bubble is going to hit him as now the Kassadin, he's dead. Oh, boy. He had to flash at least the bubble. just being a little bit greedy with this flash. He had it available. Once you get yourself in that position, you make that mistake, you have to be responsible and use your summoner and say, I made the mistake. Fly decided not to. And that means that Kassadin is gone, and the split, or not split push, just the straight up 5-man push in the mid lane is on.
Yeah, and Olaf ends up getting ripped right there. Keen trying to pack him up. So at this point, DAMWON, they are posturing around mid lane, they're shoving it in, they're going to move over to the Mountain Dragon. And so if you're an Afreeca fan, the best thing you can hope for here is a Cloud Dragon coming up next, because DAMWON do not care about getting Cloud Dragons or Cloud Soul. Moment of silence. just a moment of silence.
Just watch the... What was it? That's not red, though. I don't know if Cherry's correct. Like, Infernal Drake is kind of orange.
Okay, what about
it's like
the,
red
the
orange.
Okay, what about orange?
Orange sherbet is...
The creamsicle.
That, I don't know, that's kind of too light, you know?
Oh, pumpkin. Pumpkin flavored ice cream.
Yeah. Okay. The color,
pumpkin
the
spice.
color is on.
Pumpkin spice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Glad we can agree.
It just feels like the theme doesn't fit, but the color does absolutely. But yeah, I suppose that's the best we can do for now. Maybe Atlas has got some ideas. Can ask him on Sunday. As, okay, another Trouble Bubble's gonna land here, as this Kassadin has not been having fun. Still has his flash, at least. I suppose that's one benefit from what happened earlier. As a little bit of a push. Dread is just... I feel like Dread is playing that jungler in solo queue that's like, okay, well, they're, you know, the top laner on my team is actually good, so I'm just gonna sit next to my top laner. And... I don't know, I've done this strategy myself. I feel like it does work, actually. So you may want to try that. And he's just sticking by Keen. He's like, yeah, let's get the Kalista fed. Because, yes, we're behind. We are going to be struggling. We're down 2 Drakes as well. But maybe he can carry. He's 1-0. Who knows?
Well, Kalista's going to be pretty hard-pressed to do so, trying to go melee range against the Ken and against the Aphelios. And even the Jarvan can actually cause her some problems depending on the way the fight ends up being conducted. Keen is level 10 down here, did just ding it. Nuguri probably going to be able to get it off of these minions. I don't know why Nuguri is prioritizing poking Keen rather than just getting the minions, but I guess he wants to delay Keen's ability to get the turret. As Double S, I really gotta say, that if the Syndra performance last game was underwhelming in regards to what we would expect out of a Syndra, this Syndra performance is it's like a sequel.
Well, you know what they say about sequels. Generally, the first movie is a bit better. Which, you know, sometimes they both don't do so well, and unfortunately our Synders today did have a bit of trouble with their games. And at the same time, I mean, it's not like he was given much opportunity to show his stuff. He was in the lane, kind of just farming, and then they got dove in the jungle, and he got zoned out, and he's like, well, I guess I'm kind of done here. So maybe he can get something going a little bit later on, see what he can do. As he's level 8. Felt like it was a little bit low, but actually we're still just a little bit early in this game. The Showmaker level 10, going to be hanging out, bopping some players with his Zoe.
And here is the mid-game stalemate that's going to start and occurring now, as Showmaker, interestingly, he has the Hextech Revolver, but he also has the Ludens. So I'm curious what he'll end up going with, as we're at 14.5 minutes, and I believe that Fly is still about 4 minion waves away from a Rod of Ages completion. So it is going to be an extremely late Rod of Ages. He doesn't even have his tier yet. Not even a Lost Chapter either. So this Kassadin is not coming online until 30-plus minutes, which is just unfathomable when you think about the matchup that he was in mid lane is one that Kassadin does enjoy. Yes, Showmaker made a really smart decision by going for the call, and he did roll within the first 200 seconds Redemption into the Ignite, which was a bit unfortunate. However, Showmaker just getting the better end of Fly today, and both of the matchups too. The Echo Syndra and now the Zoe Kassadin. Second Herald card.
Yeah, we might have more. Nice hook, though, from the side of Jelly. I'm not sure if it's going to amount to much, although the Cataclysm is going to save a bunch of lives on the side of DAMWON, it looks like. Showmaker, not sure about that follow-up. Double flash away as the Aphelios is in a bunch of trouble, but is able to trade it back with some AoE on the follow-up. Nuguri gets here, but a little bit too late. But at least he is on time for the Dragon and should be able to help out here as he is just in a really awkward spot as the Hextech, or the Hextreaker, is going to help him out here quite a bit. Beryl now trying to set it up for his team. Beryl and Canyon extremely low. You can see Nuguri looking to chase a little bit more, but not quite able to land much. They're looking for a follow-up there as, oh boy, there it is. That's the one kill. Make it another as Fly is also going to be followed up here. Fail on the flash by Canyon, but they're just forcing so much as Showmaker's picking them all up. Was
200 meters.
For more. 200 meters. The long jump.
Oh man, Showmaker just flashing all
Olympic
over.
gold. So he's a fun champion.
He really is. Okay, so Infernal did go over to Canyon. That was looking dicey. Dread was about to get there. Now they're threatening a 22-minute Infernal Soul. Kassadin, still no Rod of Ages as my stream just died.
Oh, now it's my turn. My stream now. As yeah, we're seeing the replay here. Showmaker was quite lucky actually to not die on the back of that. Maybe if the Syndra had some more items, you could see a really good follow-up response out of Ghost. Nuguri's TP pretty late. I guess they just felt like, actually from both sides, as you can see, Fly came in here a little bit late as well. They probably felt like the fight was done and that they weren't actually going to continue. And then Keen just kind of walks in vision and says, yeah, it should be fine. But he absolutely was not. That's a lack of vision and a lack of respect of where the enemy could be at the same time.
Yeah. And you can see not Jelly. I mean, he goes back in to try to do something. Ends up costing Fly his flash as we see Zoe jumping through all the wormholes here. And the game is looking very rough. Luden's into Proto Belt for Showmaker, so very interesting itemization coming out here for him on the Zoe. Now, through all of this, Afreeca's actually not that far behind in terms of gold. They're only down 2,000 now. Obviously, that gold lead is about to increase ever so slightly. It's going to be about almost 2.5, but relative to everything that happened in this game, I think that most people would be surprised how close it is. Now, yes, there's an Infernal Dragon. Yes, there's a Mountain Dragon as well on the side of DAMWON. But it's not like they're totally out of it. Rod of Ages has been completed now. It's starting to stack up its quest item. Double S is building... I'm not actually sure what...
Spellbinder.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the play, because the Cannon and the Zoe and the Jarvan are all coming into you anyway. So the added movement speed is only going to help with kiting backwards, but he has no penetration. So no Sword Pen Boots, no Oblivion Orb, and this build is going to be very expensive, but it's also going to curve out into the third build very poorly, or the third item very poorly. So a lot of pressure is going to be on Keen in this next team fight, and there's only 2 minutes until it happens.
Yeah, especially when you're behind, you have to get items that you feel like are going to make the biggest difference and give you the most value based on your current position. And more than penetration, more than extra AP, he's just saying movement speed is what is going to give me the value. And, I mean, that's arguable, right? I suppose he feels really threatened, but he still wants some AP, doesn't want to go Zhonya's or something. But definitely not standard, not what we would absolutely see every single game, so kind of interesting to see him pick this one up here. Showmaker looking for the extra range with this part of LT. As the siege is on, they've certainly got quite the siege here, with especially Zoe.
And the bot lane, just a lot of posturing, trying to keep Afreeca restricted in vision. As also, another key thing about this upcoming teamfight is I don't believe that Double S or Fly will have their flash available, whereas Showmaker will, Barrel will, and Canyon will. So it's going to be a full summoner spell fight, I believe, out of DAMWON is Fly and Double S. If the Dragon doesn't get started immediately, I believe their flash is up. Maybe I'm reading this
I know you
countdown.
can't see it, but...
Yeah. Maybe I'm actually just wrong here. I think that the flash...
Yeah, 13 seconds for Cassidy.
Okay.
So he will have it.
Oh, okay, he will have it. Okay.
Yeah.
I am totally misreading the
Lost
sight on the right-hand side, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is actually, this is it. This is going to be the decisive fight. Full summoner spells across the board for both parties. If DAMWON gets the Infernal Soul here, it's lights out. If Afreeca can manage to win the team fight or get the dragon themselves, they've bought themselves a lot of time and things get scary.
The fight is coming on down here. Showmaker will be forced to flash away. You can see the Ragnarok and the chase by Dread. He was trying to create so much space, and he did, but Nuguri coming in from behind. The exhaust is big as Dread goes in the front and blocks the Moon Knight Vigil, actually, and is able to help out there, but the Zoe damage and Ghost damage on the Aphelios from so far away. The two of them just able to poke them down so nicely. Hook, though, is going to miss onto Double S. He's too low on mana, though, as the Dredge line going to go wide. As they're just looking to snipe. You could see that both Showmaker and Ghost are kind of like a duo, as Keen is going 1v5. I mean, this isn't even a meme right now. He's just seriously doing it. And now with the TP, this could turn into something. Fly is full health, full mana.
They chased really far, and Fly is looking with his Rift Walk. Oh!
He wants it. He's in a awkward spot, but there's so much pressure on the Drake right now.
They have the Ren. They want to go in
so
onto
much
Canyon.
Damage onto Canyon. You can see Showmaker in an awkward spot too, but the three-man knockup with the Jarvan. Is it enough to pull it back? No, it doesn't look like it, as Dread is going to come back from home. As the turret comes down here, Ghost and Nuguri together. Do they have the damage to poke out? Nuguri's going to land the stun, but Aphelios does get assassinated. As now, I mean, this fight has been extended for so long. Beryl is back, but with the smite available, actually it's not available here for the side of Olaf, but they do have the Rend, and that will be enough for Afreeca somehow to win that fight.
And Keen really saved this team fight. We're going to take a look at that. Fly and Dread go so hard at Showmaker, trying to control it. And you can see Nuguri in the backside. He's afraid to use the Slicing Maelstrom, but he eventually pulls the trigger, but it actually gave Afreeca a lot of time to get into the back. Cataclysm comes up, blocking everyone, and a really nice save by Beryl onto Nuguri, who didn't really have an alternate way out. And then right here, they keep chasing. Beryl whiffs the hook, uses the flay onto Keen, but pay attention to this right here. They could have all just turned around and done the dragon at this point. But for some perplexing reason, they try to go back onto Kalista. DAMWON really, really greedy. This has been one of their major downfalls in the LCK in Spring 2020. Beautiful knockup, but as you can see, flash out by Keen, flash out by Double S. They still had that available, and then Olaf coming over the mountain. Well, over the horizon. Not. There's no mouth fight in this game. Yeah. somewhere over the rainbow. It's all gonna be fine. But Afreeca, they win that Infernal fight, and the scary thing about this is Kassadin, more minutes have now passed. He's getting way more value in terms of his item. He's picked up a Lost Chapter. He's picked up a Tear of the Goddess. Will he have that for the next Infernal fight? Because you can see Showmaker, I think he's trying to get to the Void Staff. Look at the amount of magic resistance on Keen. This is where things start to get scary.
Awkward spot here for the Nautilus. He does not have his flash, and he does not have his light. From downtown, just gets dunked by Showmaker. And he was hit by the Scrying Plant, and he still went back in trying to get vision. I think that was just not respecting the Zoe there and what she's able to do from that kind of range. So a bit of a mistake. Dread looking to check the brushes. Doesn't see Nuggery up there on the top side, as now they're going to find Fly. But still not 100% confident to continue onto this Baron. They would love to take a 5v4, but a good disengage by the side of Afreeca, who are now going into the enemy red jungle.
Oh.
As, okay, there you go. Gonna spot them out. Doesn't look like DAMWON want to go on a wild goose chase or anything like that, but are gonna zone them away. No Baron, just the one kill onto Jelly.
One kill is all that is able to be achieved. Ghost still waiting on his next item completion. Both Kennen and Zoe waiting on Void Staff, because the amount of magic resistance on the enemy team is a bit obnoxious for them to handle. No Oblivion Orb present by either. As Afreeca,
they have a Callista.
Kennen doesn't have TP.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh,
he can't ignite a minion.
man.
That's awkward. Okay, 4v5. Hook is going to come down on the Jelly. I think they can just go on to this one, but Jelly has taken an immense amount of damage. You can see Dread as well.
Is running there, but
Down
Showmaker
pretty slow. They're looking for the knockup here. They throw Dread into the front, not for the knockup, and now we have Aphelios in a terrible position. It's going to get burst down, but here's Nuggery. Immediately it gets exhausted, but it still is enough to do the damage. But now Canyon, they don't have anything left in the tank. Nuggery will go down as well. It's only Showmaker, and he is being hunted down through the jungle. The Thresh gets away, but it does not matter. Afreeca will pick up this Baron.
So Afreeca, they're going to get the Baron. This is going to persist into the Infernal Dragon. They should probably wait the 10 seconds just to give... Well, it's not the end of the world, but if they really kill it and he's at 3 seconds, I'm gonna feel so bad. Really? Come on.
It kind of looked like a couple of them wanted to wait, to be honest.
Yeah, that's actually really strange.
The Ren didn't come out right away.
As definitely maybe some miscommunication going on there. So Afreeca turn off the Baron immediately. Watch the exhaust onto the Kennen. Slicing Maelstrom. Able to just do virtually nothing in that team fight because of the exhaust. And then, again, Afreeca sort of just wrangling DAMWON around with a lot of repositioning. Their champions are very difficult to sort of lock down. And when Kennen and Zoe are on cooldown, all of the weight is on the Aphelios. And if he can't do anything, problems start rising. Kassadin, 9 Darksteel stacks right now. Almost has the Seraph's Embrace. Rod of Ages completely fulfilled right now. Things are just getting so scary.
Again.
This
Okay,
is the
TP
part.
is going to come
Yeah.
in. And you can see that Afreeca really did want to force that. And so they're successful. They weren't necessarily looking to go all in with that engage. But now it could come down to an Infernal Soul here. As the Baron available for Afreeca, they're looking to isolate Nuggery up here on the top side. Is going to take the Blasting Plant. As will they just go for the 50-50? You can see a bunch of hooks coming out here. Canyon going in, but not quite able to get that dragon low enough. It is going to go the way of Afreeca in the end of it all. As Nuggery, though, with Barrel, they are able to fight front to back. Did DAMWON somehow be able to pull this one back here? As in goes Showmaker, looking for the follow-up. Not quite able to land any further spells, but they get a couple of kills, even though they didn't get the Drake. DAMWON able to get some position on the map.
Yeah, and that is the second Infernal Dragon going the way of Afreeca. All of these Drakes matter so much.
You there, Ellis? I can't hear you.
My Discord muted. My stream to LCK was still completely fine. I have no idea what is up with this microphone. I apologize. Okay, Nuguri, he gets locked up here. You see Canyon. He goes for the coin flip on the Infernal, and that's a totally acceptable decision. If you get the Infernal Soul, you can lose this team fight and still then win the game. So pay attention to Showmaker inside of this fight. 1 flash, 2 flash, 3 flash. Goes for the bubble. 4 flash, I believe, is what he had available to him inside of that team fight. And at this point, the game is going to enter probably back into a little bit of a lull state. Nuguri now starting to pick up some magic resistance, and this is that part of the game, the super late game we mentioned in the draft select. Eventually, Zoe and Kennen will start to try to get magic resistance items, and that'll help them out a lot in the game. The Hex Drinker, probably going to be completed into the Maw of Malmortius, we assume, shortly. And Callista, she's going to basically be the same champion now. I think that Keen is going to go for the Scimitar as his next item, and that doesn't really change all that much. You're mostly still just utilizing the item for the QSS. You get a little bit more AD, but for the most part, Callista's going to be locked at being the same exact unit on the map for a couple of minutes. So Kassadin will be the one that really changes up. Dread probably going to complete the Spirit Visage here shortly. Baron coming up in 2 minutes, Infernal Drake in 2.5, and this could create a fork as Fly is 1 Riftwalk stack, or any ability, I guess. Force Pulse can even upgrade it to Seraph's. And maybe he's intentionally not using an ability to make the opponent... Well, no, obviously that's not going to be the case. He's going to use an ability right now.
Yeah. There it is.
He finally has it.
Stacks it up. And all the... You can see a bunch of these objectives still pretty far away. Baron, 1:30. Infernal Drake, 2 minutes on the map. And Fly nearing level 16. So you can see he's really trying to put on the pressure in the side lane. Trying to get people to visit down to the bottom side. And, of course, get that solo XP so he can pick up the level 16. But definitely will have a little bit of a downtime here before we do get into much fighting. We see that Afreeca's trying to get pretty creative. They're moving as a 3-man unit up to the top side, trying to clear out vision, maybe pick off someone who is going for the farm in the top, but relatively passive play out of the side of DAMWON.
50 seconds until the Baron will end up spawning for both of these teams here, looking to capture it. Zanya's Hourglass completed as well for Fly. And this is scary. Now, he is a minion away from level 16. He's going to be able to get it here in mid lane. He finally does ding it. And Riftwalk level 3 is now available in this team fight. So, Zoe is she's about to meet a friend that can also jump around.
Yeah, it's... He takes a little bit of extra time, but he eventually gets there, and it's really scary when he does. And we have reached that moment now. Oh. He's on 3 items. You have the Trouble Bubble coming out here. Doesn't really want to use Ragnarok there, so kind of calls their bluff, says, no, you're not going to engage on me. And reads it correctly.
He knows he can take a lot of damage. He has the Warmogs, so he's able to regen it back up to full HP, if need be. And
Infernal Drake.
Okay, this is really scary. Fly in the back line. Lightning Rush now down.
Oh, we'll Fly on vision now. So they're going to know where he is.
And Canyon is level 12, by the way.
Yeah, against level 14 from the side of Dread. So definitely not the best spot for him. Perhaps they can try to just pick this off. They still have an extra Drake for Afreeca to get. And again, you mentioned it before, 50-50. Still not a bad idea for DAMWON here, as it might not even get there. It's not going to. Canyon a little bit too late to the party. Kind of awkward shuffling around the top side. Big time Cataclysm, though, with Nuggery in the backside. He is not going to get exhausted, and that is enough damage with the Aphelios in the backside, doing way too much AoE. But here's Keen, trying to go 1v2. Takes out the 1, make that 2. And now, with Fly still up, and he's got a decent amount of health left, he's easily going to be able to cut off this wave.
The thing about this is that DAMWON just had a free Baron, the same way they had a free Infernal Soul, if you remember. And for what reason? What unholy reason do they chase after the Callista?
Trying to get some room here. There's the knockup. They are going to take down Fly, and now Keen just desperate, so desperate to try to stop them, but it's not enough as the Baron is going to go down here. The Aphelios reigns king at the end of the day.
All right, well, at the end of this, let's take another look at this replay. So, this was going to be DAMWON's last stand. Cataclysm comes out, actually interrupts Nuggery. On the right-hand side, he couldn't get into the meat of it all. And then, right here, definitely wants to greed Nuggery and definitely wants to greed Showmaker, going on to Keen here as they both just get killed. That was a straight up 1v2.
DWG.
You know what?
Took me a little bit to get that one. Okay.
As take a look at the hook on Thresh, that was actually phenomenal by Beryl. Super hook there by him, able to help them out in that Baron capture. Now, with the Baron, it doesn't even mean that DAMWON's going to win. They still have to do one more song and a dance. Aphelios does have full items. I think that he should sell his boots, most likely, and, well, actually, no, I guess he can't sell his boots for Phantom Dancer because he has the Maul of Malmortius, you know, items.
Maybe you can pick up a GA?
Well...
I don't know if... I don't know. I don't know if that would help him much. Like, if he dies, they're probably going to lose the fight.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of an awkward spot here.
Yeah, I don't know what you would go, actually, in this point. Does he have...
He could
like,
go
Blade of the
Static
Rune
Shiv.
King or something?
You could go Static Shiv. You get more crit, and you get extra damage, I guess, inside of the team fight. Although I'm not sure. Maybe he actually does value the Berserker Greaves, so maybe we just won't end up seeing it. But we are in the super late stages. Interestingly enough, Kennen does finally have the Banshee Veil. I really like that he's picked up the Sorc Elixir. He recognizes that they're probably going to have one last shot to make this work. Zoe maybe can't get to the Banshee's Veil and thus has elected into picking up the stopwatch, or it could just be that Showmaker is actually valuing the Hourglass as the next item. Does have the Cleanse available on him right now. Again, Keen is the real problem. Feels like Fly has been 16 forever. He is a vampire.
Yeah, he hit level 16 and we were all going Monka W, but then it kind of felt pretty flat. I don't know. Edward Cullen? What?
You are.
I mean, I know who he is, but like, yeah, I mean,
because he's using the vampire Costidan skin.
Okay. Yeah. See, that was a little bit deep, like the skin, all the way down to the skin. Like, I connect those dots. What?
Oh no. All right, Valdez, listen. Listen. All right. I'm not blaming you. I think it's totally fine.
Okay.
Wasn't obvious.
That's good. Thanks, Ellis. Thank you for your support. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't really been able to make a big difference in these fights. It feels like he has been a bit tentative with how he wants to enter into some of this. He picks up a needlessly large rod. I think he's kind of just gotta get in there. It's not going to be easy, But, you know, you're a Kassadin, you're level 16. You have to be getting into the back line and doing some effective damage. As you can see, he does have that position on the right side, but he will be spotted, and they're trying to force a fight now. Can they find Dread? Not going to commit to the Cataclysm or anything like that, just poking down a bit of damage. Nautilus will block that one. Now moving over towards Fly and the Dragon, they could absolutely try to burst this down, and that they will.
Going to.
Yep, they will. There's no way that Afreeca can get in range in time. And there you go, Infernal Soul now on top of everything that DAMWON do have. This Aphelios is going to be hitting like a literal truck.
An 18-wheeler. Valdez, an absolute
freight train.
A freight train. I love it. I love where you're going. It's like the ISS. No? Okay. not a, do you not know what that is, or what?
I do.
All right. What is it? What does it stand for?
The International Space Station.
All right. You didn't have to brag. All right.
Yeah, you know, I just had to show you what was up. But yeah, I mean, they are in such a magnificent spot now. The Infernal Soul is going to help out. Like, a lot of these fights were close, but now just having that extra bit of oomph is, you know, we saw the AoE insane carrying from Aphelios in the last fight when they were able to line it up. Now I don't even know if they necessarily need to line it up. As long as he can survive, I think he will have enough damage alone to take out this team.
Yeah. Basically, all that has to happen right now is for Aphelios to live. What a way for Afreeca to win this game if they can manage to CLG DAMWON Gaming here. Can they go for the backdoor against a Soul? Yeah, look at him. He's going to work.
He's going to work. And he will be fast at this. They want to take the inhibitor and back and try to back and go for a recall. But on the chase here is Afreeca. But I think they should be able to get one recall off. But I think the inhibitor absolutely will go down. As DAMWON have split up, they say, okay. And he's going to continue here, although once the cannon does make it back, he is going to halt the progress, at least for now.
And it opens up the possibility to just have teleports down into bot lane now on Keen or even Double S. He would be able to deal a lot of damage to the turrets as well, with the way everything currently does stand. Keen is in the base against Kassadin, and you can... Okay, well, clears out the mini wave, buys a lot of time.
Yeah, that he will. Tons of damage coming out here. Just take a look at Aphelios in the backside. Gets exhausted, but it's not enough. The damage is coming out. Kassadin in the base is not going to be able to push enough, although he is looking for the kill. Double S on the run, and Kassadin is going to lose the fight somehow as the Thresh goes back just in case they needed that extra help. It looks like DAMWON, with that last fight, should be able to pick up this game. They're still on the chase for Double S here. Another Cataclysm is going to come up here just on time, and they will look to push and end the game.
And DAMWON, with a hero recovery, almost let the game completely fall away from them. But that last stand in River with the Cataclysm, being able to kill all the members on Afreeca except for the Kassadin and the Callista, converted into a Baron, and then eventually brought it all the way back by getting the Infernal Soul in the end. What a nail-biter of a match, though. We got to see every stage of the team compositions come out, which was really interesting because we don't generally get to see that. And for Fly, who fell so far behind early on, managed to recover in the mid-game. At the end, definitely botched the ending. Nonetheless, Afreeca, they probably felt really desperate because they know at that point they're not going to win a straight-up fight against Infernal.
And I like the idea, but as you mentioned, the execution wasn't exactly there. I would love to see another replay of that last fight just to see what was going on. It felt like Fly didn't seem very confident on late game Kassadin, to be perfectly honest. So not really able to show us the power of that pick. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't only him. Obviously, Afreeca were having trouble in some of these fights, but they were slowly coming back, and we thought that with a lot of that late game skilling, I mean, they had the Callista and the Kassadin in the extreme late game should be quite powerful, but not quite able to put the nail in the coffin there. And so it does end up a 2-0 victory. We were saying that DAMWON should be favored in the matchup. I thought it would go to 2-1, but the 2-0 is a pretty good look for DAMWON, and yet more struggles for Afreeca, where more and more question marks are popping up for that team.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw some of DAMWON's issues pop up in this series, though, where at several points, obviously most notably, was the Kennen and the Zoe chasing the Callista at the Raptor camp, and then both of them dying. But also, when they had the 100% Infernal Soul, and they kept chasing for kills, and then Beryl got impaled by Callista, and Afreeca managed to turn it around and capture the Infernal Soul instead, that greediness will continue to kill them against better teams.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something they will have to fix, and we will have to see if they can actually do that. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights here. We did see early on that Afreeca were able to get some small wins, although this was a little bit unfortunate onto Fly that he did go down there. Another moment where Keen kind of had a bit of a head scratcher. A little bit overconfident, perhaps. But a very back and forth game, a lot closer than I expected it to be honest.
Yep. Absolutely. As it was very back and forth. Feel very bad for Keen, because really, bot lane and mid lane, they just completely got torn open in the early and mid game of this game number 2, and things are a little bit unfortunate for him, because he had an immaculate performance on this Callista. Had Afreeca been able to win this, I think that he would have been the unanimous MVP. Almost certainly. As this team fight here as well, you can see that Afreeca made the decision to try to turn. They knew that Kennen was down in bot lane without teleport available. He had Ignite with really good exhaust. As I believe this was the flip, right? Where Canyon, yes, this is where Canyon went for the coin flip onto the Infernal Soul. Didn't end up being successful, but you can understand the logic behind it. As it was a bit of a bloody fight all around.
Yeah, the entire game was just, there were a lot of scraps like this. It wasn't necessarily only fighting over the Drakes, although there were a lot of them, so maybe that's the reason why I feel like there were just a lot of fights, because we had a lot of Drake fights.
And right here, this was it. This was the does one agreed. As there was no reason to go in there. They could have just grouped with their team, gone over to the Baron, captured it. But definitely letting their emotions get the best of them there.
Life is good. I don't know why Fly Rift walked into them first and then queued, like, and again, we're gonna see here.
Right here, he messed up his animation, and then he Seraph's Embrace, but he never gets the mana restore on his W. So, bit of an unfortunate mechanical play. And Kennen also having a lot of durability there. He had the Banshee's Veil, all the magic resistance there. Zanya's active as well. And this was it. This was just ultimately the end of the game. Keen doing so well on his team. And Aphelios did a lot of damage. Zoe was really hard pressed to deal damage, though. A lot of people on the enemy team had stacked magic resist. And so, a very impressive performance from Showmaker. I gave my MVP over to him. It was a really long game, 44 minutes. But what a day. Seeing Lee Sin and Olaf both lose.
Oh, yeah, feels good, man. The sinners get punished at the end of it all. But yeah, it wasn't really... It was an interesting pick, too. The Olaf was a self-counter pick straight into the Jarvan, and it didn't really end up doing much. Although on paper you might consider, run at the Aphelios, and Zoe can't sleep you, and maybe you can just get on in there, but absolutely was not able to do enough. And you can see that Ghost is going to pick up the player of the game here. Does get 2 total, so this is the second one since joining DAMWON in round number 2. As I actually did vote for him for Ghost. I felt like his positioning was quite good and that he played the Aphelios. Everybody can joke about 200 years and the champion's pretty strong, but he absolutely did pilot it quite well. Was using his guns at the right moments, going for the AoE here, and so overall had a really good performance on the Aphelios, so did end up giving it to him. I'd be curious about who else did vote for him, because I was also torn between him and Showmaker, of course, was the other obvious choice, as just able to stick in there and have position. It was actually 8 out of 9 for Ghost, only LS. The lone lonely sadness is alone once again. Lonely sadness. AKA LS is a caster for the LCK that is always alone in his POG votes. Either way, guys, I'm going to hand it over to Ji-sun. She will translate the interview with Ghost.
Ghost, congratulations on the win and being the solo POG. Well, today's match was so hard, but I'm happy that I got a win and also being on this interview after a while. Yeah, it's been a while. Did you feel any pressure coming in DAMWON Gaming in the middle of the split? Yeah, I mean, it was not easy, definitely. However, we all just worked really hard. So we are becoming more and more solid, and we are just doing our best. Ghost, I heard you have a bit of a strong personality. Kind of. So who is the other teammates that kind of helped you a lot to kind of help you to adjust to the new team? Well, I used to know Hoyt even before I joined the team, so Hoyt helped me out a lot. Yeah, I guess bot laners are sharing the love. And yeah, as you mentioned, today's game was not easy at all. The game was so close, and game 2, actually, Afreeca also had a bit of a momentum. You guys did lose several team fights, Fly on Kassadin and also Key was doing a lot of work. Yeah, I mean some of my teammates were chasing a ghost, so they were chasing after Kalista for no reason. So after a team fight, I just said let's just protect Aphelios. We all just made a call to protect Aphelios, but somehow, someway during the team fight, they always end up following that Kalista. And people are saying that since you joined DAMWON, your team is having a more decisive and appropriate calls. But I mean, I don't know. But today we did agree on one call, but Keen was so good at absorbing all the aggro. So somehow we just ended up chasing Keen all day. And Ogre became a lot more consistent, and some people are saying that that is kind of the influence coming out from Ghost, because back in the split, Noguri used to make a lot of isolated stats, but since you joined the team, he is kind of getting better on those points.
네, 일단 뭐 저의 영향도 있겠지만 이거는
I mean,
감독 코치님들이랑
this can
이제
be
너구리 선수도
an
열심히
influence
같이
from me,
얘기해서
but
좀
besides
이뤄낸 것
that,
같고요.
our coaching staff and Noguri was
너구리가
working
잘하는
so
부분이
hard
확실히
to
있기
improve
때문에
that. Noguri is a player with a lot
그런
of
부분도
strength.
생기는 게 아닌가 싶어요. 네.
So, and also because he has such a big strength, sometimes he makes those kind of mistakes.
캐넨으로 이렇게 뒤에 숨어서 파밍하는 거 거의 못 본 거 같거든요.
Yeah, I mean, actually today was the first day to actually see Noguri farming, not overstepping in the line. So I guess Noguri did change. So let me ask you about the Filios. So you were both good at playing on that champion and also playing into that champion.
아펠리오스 이제 제가 상대하면은 이길 수 있고 제가
I can
아펠리오스를
win when I
이길 수
play into Filios, but I can also win when I play Filios. Great flags, huge flags coming in from Ghost, and huge confidence reflected on this interview. I mean, Ghost definitely has one of the best forms as an AD carries in LCK, that is true. However, Afreeca did kind of lock in some of the unexpected picks, right?
베릴 선수가 적팀이 노틸러스 3픽을
Well,
뽑은
Brill,
거고
after he saw like Nautilus locked in, he kind of let us know that Kalista will be going top and Syndra will be going bot.
딱픽 보고 아 하는구나.
Well, we did not expect it before the draft, but as soon as we saw their picks, we kind of expected that they will be repeating Kalista on top side, and it was a little bit tricky to play against it.
딱히 없습니다.
그렇군요. 예. 와디는 궁금한 점이
And Wadid
없대요.
does not have any question over to Ghost here,
플레이가 나오거나
because Ghost was showing a very clean performance.
오늘 고스 선수는 워낙 다 잘해가지고
He was
딱히 질문할 게 없는 것
just
같아요.
pulling up all the best play possible throughout the game today. And in the previous interview, you said you will continue this win streak, just like Faker did last year. And with this win streak, you mentioned that you want to make it to the finals, and now it's becoming the truth.
제가 이제 그때 얘기한 거 이제 8연승 남았는데
We have 8
그거
match
일단
wins to
최대한
go.
열심히 해보고 싶어요.
So I just want to keep up this hard work and make it come true.
자, 끝으로 고스트 선수를 정말 예전부터 그리워했었고
And you know, a lot of fans have been missing you, Ghost, and waiting for you to pick up the POG on the LCK stage. So any message for your fans?
일단 제가 쉬는 기간에도 되게 많이 찾아주시고
During the off season, when I was not in a team, there were a lot of fans always waiting for me, supporting me. So I want to make it up to my fans, performing well in DAMWON Gaming. This will be the end of the interview with Ghost from DAMWON Gaming, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, G-Sun, once again for your awesome interview translation. And yeah, it was cool to see Ghost up there all alone, just feeling happy about his POGs. And yeah, I mean, that's a good win for DAMWON. You were talking about how this is definitely a important matchup for the two teams. It does determine, you know, would Afreeca make it back to the west side of the standings? Would DAMWON stay there? DAMWON, with this win, able to move up to 7-7. With now 4 matches left over. So actually in a pretty decent spot if they can win 3 out of 4 to, you know, absolutely secure their spot for playoffs. And 2 out of 2 would probably get them in. It would be close with that. But we will have to see as the standings do come in. As, yeah. What did you think, LS?
Well, I thought that DAMWON was obviously playing a lot better than Afreeca all around. Their tendencies did still show themselves, but at the end of it all, the standings are a little bit shaky. Afreeca probably will be able to stay or at least maintain 6th place or eventually make it back onto the west-hand side. Although if there is going to be a team that could probably make a run to get higher up in the standings, it would be APK, who is currently in 7th place. I really think Hanwha Life, Sandbox, and Griffin are doomed to rotate those 3 on the bottom half. Genji T1 obviously neck and neck. Dragon X is going to have a couple of matches coming up that are very key for them, as well as even for T1, because those 3 teams are just the powerhouses of Spring 2020.
They absolutely are, and those 2 on the top already making it into playoffs so far, so just trying to improve their standing for now. And guys, tomorrow it will be the 2 of us back here once again for APK versus KT, Sandbox up against Hanwha Life, and then Genji up against Dragon X. I feel like we got 3 very even matchups there between these 6 teams that we do have tomorrow.
I completely agree. I think Dragon X versus Genji is obviously going to be the highlight, and so saving the best for last right there. Sandbox Hanwha Life going to be extremely even. Will Summit come back out? We are hoping so. And APK versus KT is also going to be really interesting because that's going to be one of APK's first tests, whereas KT, they want to get back on the winning streak.
Yeah, an unfortunate loss for them, but as you mentioned, they want to get right back up on the horse, and we need to see if APK's hype is the real deal. So that will be the matchup starting tomorrow. I hope you guys do join us then, but for tonight, we will say goodbye. We love you. See you later. Good night.